I'd like for the panel to introduce themselves by letting us know where they're from and their job responsibilities. And once everyone has said hello, we'll start with our first question. And on that note, Emma, I'm going to throw it off to you. Hello and good evening, and thanks for being part of this panel. And let's start off with the introduction from you.
Hi Dana, nice to see you. So my name's Emma Bownes. I'm Vice President Programming for Europe for AEG, which means that I oversee the programming primarily for the O2 Arena in London, but also for the Mercedes-Benz Arena, Barclaycard Arena in Hamburg, and the Verti Music Hall in Berlin.
Thank you. And then Maria.
Hello, Dana and everyone. My name is Marie, and I'm located in Stockholm, Sweden. I just recently joined the team in Manchester as a role of Senior Vice President for ASM Global. But I've been the GM for the 5 venues that we have in Stockholm for like many years. So I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you for joining us. And next, we're going to throw it over to Tim in Australia.
Thanks, Dana. Hi, everybody. Great to be part of this, and thanks for having me along. So my name's Tim Wharton. My role is Group Director of Arenas for the ASM Global venues. So I have oversight of 4 arenas in Sydney, Perth, Brisbane, and Newcastle, but also assist with concert and live entertainment operations in our convention centres as well. So that's my role.
Thanks for joining us. What time is it there in Australia?
It's just after 7 a.m.
Are you finished being happy about the Lakers win?
Almost. I drank a lot of wine last night to celebrate. It was pretty good.
Awesome. Ben, are you on?
I am. Hi, Dana. Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here. Very interesting panel we got. My name is Venancio Castro. I run ASM Global in Latin America. I'm the executive director. Currently, we manage and consult on arenas in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Montevideo, Uruguay. We have 2 projects in the pipeline in Brazil and another one in Santiago, Chile.
Thanks for being with us. And last but not least, Zane.
Thank you everyone for inviting me on this panel. I'm thrilled to be here. I am the Assistant General Manager for ASM Global in Jacksonville, Florida, where we manage 7 venues, including the TIAA Bank Field Stadium where the Jaguars play, and a 13,000-seat arena called VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. In addition to that, the Southeast Regional Booking Director to help the ASM Global buildings find content for their venues.
Thank you. And the last but not least, Michael.
The very least, guten Tag from Germany. Hi, everybody. Thanks for the invite to join the group. I'm Michael Brill, CEO of D.Live, and I'm representing 5 venues in the city of Düsseldorf, Germany. And we're in charge for operations of buildings, and we're very active in trying to find all kind of solutions to keep the business spinning in these crazy days.
Thank you so much for joining us. And for those who don't know me, my name is Dana DuFine, and I oversee content development and programming for ASM Global, where I am very pleased to work with the majority of people on our panel today. And on that note, we're going to go in and start with our first question. And I'm going to actually throw this over to Marie and Emma. One of the questions we have is, have venues in your country been successful in executing concerts or shows in a non-traditional format, i.e. drive-in concerts, socially distanced indoor events, and what are your thoughts?
Okay, I can get started and give a little update from Stockholm. Since the pandemic started in March, we have a restriction of maximum 50 people that can be in a venue at the same time, which means that we have not been able to do anything like drive-in concerts or things like that, because it requires more people than 50. What we have been doing is live streamed concerts, and also we've had a series of weekly shows from one of our venues that was quite successful over a period of 10 weeks. That was called Terrific Tuesdays, which was a way of staying relevant for our fans, but also for our partners. Apart from that, it hasn't been possible to do much more than that because of the 50-person restriction.
Just jumping in for the O2, we did look at drive-in concerts for the car park surrounding the O2, but for one reason or another, those didn't come off. And I know that when the socially distanced car park shows took place in the UK, and the viability of them was threatened by the lockdowns, the regional lockdowns that took place, which meant that financially that whole the car park tour became unviable. But just in terms of the O2 itself, what we've actually done last week, in fact, was announce our first socially distanced show. So our first socially distanced live music event is taking place on the 5th of December with Squeeze, who are actually from the area. So they're actually very local to the venue. So I think in terms of, it makes perfect sense for us to have a band from the area sort of reopening the venue for us. And if you look at the capacity we can get to, it's around 30% of our standard capacity. So our standard capacity, as you probably know, is 20,000. And we went on sale on Friday with a show with a capacity of 4,700. And it's not sold out, but it's selling really well. I think we'll get there by the time that the show plays out in December.
I'm so happy to hear that.
It was difficult. I mean, it's not an easy show to book because financially, as I'm sure everybody on the call will agree with, it's hard to get an arena level to make arena level costings work on a manifest where you're running to 30, where you're selling 30% of the tickets. So it's hard to make that financially viable. But at the O2, we felt like we really wanted to try and help progress the conversation and to try and help in any way to progress the UK music industry getting from stage 4 events to stage 5 full capacity events. So I think it's a really worthwhile thing for us to do.
It's fantastic. So here's my question. You're at 30% now. By November, if it goes to 50%, will you open up the additional seats, or do you have to stay with where you're at?
I think at the moment we are complying with the sports guidance advice. If that was changed and we could amend the capacity and increase the capacity, I think we would. It just depends if we can do that with the seats. At the moment, we're selling seats in 2s, 3s, and 4s. So it's just whether we can sort of take the extra capacity, if you see what I mean, and move the groups around for the people that have already purchased tickets, if that makes sense. But in theory, we could do.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
I think it's brilliant, and I'm very, very excited for you guys.
Thanks. We're really looking forward to it. We're all really looking forward to it.
I think
if I could figure out how to get on a plane, I'd be there.
Well, you're welcome if you can figure it out.
Zane, were you going to contribute?
I was just going to expand on what Emma was saying, in the sense I think a lot of communities are trying to figure out what the next steps are coming back to live entertainment. And, you know, the states are all over the map, no pun intended, from what they can and can't do. California is completely different than what Georgia or Florida can do, than what Tennessee can do, than what Texas can do. And so you're seeing a wide range of things, from PBR doing socially distanced events in Tulsa and Sioux Falls, to Cellular, US Cellular Arena doing that socially distanced Josh Turner show earlier this summer. You've seen various different streaming aspects coming out across the country. And if I can speak a little specifically about Jacksonville, because we have venues from 400 seats to 68,000 seats, we've been able to do a couple different things. Back in May, we did the live UFC events, obviously no fans, but helped all of us get back. And we've been trying to work other ways in baby steps, step by step, and do it safely so that we don't go backwards. And as you all know, Florida, unlike other states, took spikes and it delayed things and it slowed things down. And none of us are sure if we're done with it all yet, and we're probably not. There's a lot more steps to go through, but we continue to try to do things safely. For example, in our amphitheater, AEW, it's a wrestling outfit. They're doing all their weekly shows out of our amphitheater. And about 2 months ago, they started doing 10 or 15% capacity, and with the anticipation that that's going to slightly start to increase here. Our symphony and our 1800 Symphonic Hall downtown, they opened their season on September 26th with basically a 30% capacity, about 500 or 600 fans, and they're selling that out. And then you look at what the NFL has done in regards to the stadiums, and you've got 30-some teams, and some have no fans, and some like Dallas got up to 20,000 fans. Here in Jacksonville, we have a 25% capacity, socially distanced stadium with a capacity of 17,000, and we're coming up on our third home game. So we've been able to find different ways to do it, and I think Emma said it right. They're not necessarily financially viable long term, but they're step to step. We actually dipped our toe in the water as it relates to a drive-in concert this weekend with John Party. We did 2 shows Friday and Saturday night. Actually sold out the Saturday night, so we added the Friday night. Didn't quite get through it, but got about 80% way through there, and everyone's going to make a couple of bucks, but no one got rich on it. But it was a logical next step to everything else I just talked about in Jacksonville. And then what comes next? Well, when ECHL hockey opens up in December and PBR comes to Jacksonville and Disney is starting to work a little bit here and there now, I think it's that methodical step by step until the big stuff starts coming out. So that's what I'm hearing and seeing and what folks are telling me about in the U.S.
Well, just to ask you one additional question in regards to the stadium and your capacity at 17,000, are you selling those tickets, or are you seeing that people are eager to start coming to games and shows again?
I think you have a very interesting purchasing pattern developing. As I mentioned, the Symphony is selling through their 500 tickets. The Jaguars are not selling through their 17,000. As a matter of fact, most of the NFL stadiums are not selling through their allotment, and they vary from 500 people to 2,000 people. So I think you still have, whether some of it's the COVID effect, some of it's the political message effect, I think it's all tied together, and some of it could be the economic effect because there's so many people still either underemployed or unemployed.
Or maybe they just don't know, meaning it takes a minute for people to understand and see that they actually can still get tickets.
I think you're right. And the visual I got from Friday and Saturday with John Party is there's definitely a demand there. It may not be everyone that was there pre-COVID, at least not yet.
Thank you so much for that. Ven or Michael, did you have anything you wanted to add to in your country, venues being successful and executing any type of events?
Yeah, we started in Germany right, I think it was 2 weeks after the lockdown that we started with the drive-in concerts, which was very successful. We sold more than 100,000 tickets and did a lot of shows. So that was very good right from the beginning. And our key message to the market was, we keep on presenting something. If we talk about success, financial success wasn't really that big. We did okay, And then we started, actually in September, we tried to launch a concert with all the rules and regulations we had in the stadium with Live Nation, featuring Brian Adams with a 13,000 capacity. Unfortunately, this was then, due to the infection rates, later on not be allowed. And then we started first shows in the capacity between 2,000 and in soccer up to 11,000 at the moment. This is all good. There's something going on, but what really is causing, or what really is very frustrating, is that we learn that despite the capacities we can currently offer, we do not even sell the tickets according to the capacity. So people are very, very cautious. And at the moment, we have a climate, at least in Germany, where the audience doesn't feel good to go. You know, I've just been to the Formula One race yesterday in Germany, which could have had a capacity of 20,000, and they hardly sold half of the ticket numbers. So people choose to not come despite the new offers we have in the market, and this irritates us tremendously. And I think we really have to watch on how we keep in touch with our customers and clients and guests, and you know, it's very frustrating.
Dana, if I could just chime in real quick, the situation in Argentina is they are under strict lockdown. Their COVID rates are a mess. So they've been you know, on a very strict governmental restrictions. So the answer that the venue found is a series of streaming concerts, right? So they started. It took a while to get organized, but they've been at, I think this is the 4th week now. They originally scheduled 11 different acts, which they're selling tickets virtually. They're not charging, you know, a ton of money for them, but local artists. The cool thing is that the promoter's happy, the arena is busy, so you know the engine's turning, and it keeps the pressure on the government to, you know, keep put the attention on that the industry needs to move. They've had tremendous success on the digital channels on what they're doing. It's good to see, you know, me and you, Dana, we participated along with Move Concerts on this. And, you know, I just see that the numbers just keep getting better in terms of attendance. So that's what's happening in Argentina. Across the pond in Montevideo, what's happening is the country has virtually no COVID issues. You know, we have a 30% capacity authorized for events. So we start at the end of this month with a series of basketball championships, regional, and then FIBA will come in and have an event. So they've booked, one way or another, they've booked up to 30 different nights at the venue till the end of the year, which is tremendous. You know, everybody's back to work. So it's interesting. I still can't go visit because of border control. But yeah, this, you know, the virtual management of this is working really well. So that's the situation in those two markets.
That's actually great news. Tim, I think you wanted to add regarding some sport activity?
Yeah, so Dana, thank you. In Australia, we've had relatively low number of cases of COVID generally. You know, some 24,000 or thereabouts cases, and only just it's a fraction under 900 deaths. So it's been relatively minimal in that sense. I think being an island nation, that's we've been helped by the fact that, you know, we've been able to close international borders pretty quickly, and so that was the best way of containment. Most of the cases have come from international travellers that have brought the disease in. Our biggest issue is border closures. A bit to Zane's point, even though there's not a lot of states in a country our size, there's still various borders that are that are closed to certain states and open to others, and then some, the Western Australian border, for example, closed to literally everybody. So it's a little bit all over the shop. So sport, because it's able to be played locally and then played in hubs, and even hubs that have been able to move around, we've had attendance numbers of around about 25 to 50%. It's now getting to a stage where the finals are on at the moment, and we've got the AFL Grand Final, the Australian Football League Grand Final, is going to be played in a 42,000 seat stadium with 30,000 capacity. So it's about 75%. And we're talking about some big rugby league matches being played potentially to 75% in November as well. So sports certainly moved along really well. In arenas where I operate, it's been quite different. And the government certainly sees the risks in stadiums being far less in open air environments than what they do in arenas. So it's been a frustration for us. In our Western Australian venue in Perth, we're allowed to do 50% capacity. We're allowed to do 50% in Brisbane, but in Sydney we have to work to a 1 person per 4 square meters, which is not very easy to work out. And when we do work it out, it comes to a pretty small number. We are looking at doing a couple of local promoters are looking to put a concert on in late November, where the government is going to treat as a test case, and we're looking to run that at 50%. All things going well and no issues arising from it COVID related, we're hoping that might be the way back to 50% for 2021. So fingers crossed.
That's great news. We're going to move on to the next question, and I'm going to ask Michael and Emma to chime in first. Based on the current intel in your region, when do you realistically believe full-scale live events will return? And what new protocols will be in place when we do return for live events? Michael, Emma?
Emma, you want to start first?
Please.
Oh, okay. Or then, okay. Well, yeah, we all want the answer to that question. I personally believe the next major step will be fast testing processes, so that, and we hear that this is close to being ready for the market, that we will be able to test people within minutes. And I think this will be the gateway to get capacities and people back to the buildings. When is this realistically happening? I wish it's going to be the end of next year. We're looking at 22 to being a real year again.
I agree with when do we think the touring calendar will return to normal? I think if you look at the shows that we have announced for the O2, for example, we still look busy with full arena shows from April through to the end of 2021. But obviously, as I'm sure is the case with all the venues on this call, the majority of shows from April to July have plan Bs on hold. We know that a significant number of those shows are going to reschedule and announce that reschedule soon. And then also in terms of just the touring market in general, if you'd have asked me a couple of months ago, our Q4 at the O2 was really like almost every date was gone. I think we have 3 dates left in November, a couple in October, a few in September. But what we've seen is that the tours that are coming to the UK from the US, or the tours that are playing the UK perhaps on their way to or back from Europe, are playing multiple territories. They've decided to play it safe and move to 2022. So whereas about 3 months ago, I thought we'd look really busy, as has been the case through this whole pandemic, everything's moved again. So I don't think we'll be back to proper levels of business, the levels of business that we used to seeing until 2022.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Dave. Sorry, as far as what we're seeing in the U.S., you know, the big two, Live Nation and AEG, seem to be talking about not getting up to full scale until summer of 21, late summer 21, fall of 21. But a lot of the summer shows have backup plans, like Emma and Michael said, for 2022. So I think the crystal ball is exactly clear, that it's clear as mud, since everyone wants to know what that billion-dollar question is, when we're going to be out of this. It's going to be a step-through process as far as getting the political stuff out of the way, and then getting the rapid testing. And then if the vaccine comes to fruition, on top of herd immunity, all that's got to come into play so that the communities feel safe to return to come inside the venues and buy the tickets. But on the flip side of it, there are still some tours, maybe not the big ones, that are still holding on for second quarter of 21 in hopes that, you know, the process we just have all been talking about may be a little more expedited than probably the reality that we're talking about. But also on top of that, you know, when you talk about the big tours, you're talking about the touring acts that have the money to withstand a 24-month time period. But there's already, I'll call it the mid-level acts, that are already feeling the pinch that the underemployed are currently feeling now, and they're trying to find places to play, whether it's drive-in, whether it's socially distanced venues, and so there are certain agencies out there trying to find those unique settings where their artists can make some money, maybe not all the money. So it won't be the big tours. It'll be, what can you put together in your region that might help you find some business to stem the tide a little bit. That's what I think we're all feeling.
I think just one thing that I do think is interesting is, obviously nobody knows when we are going to be back to anything like full arena shows. And with that in mind, you can really see that play out depending on which agent or promoter you're dealing with. So for example, we might put a show on, we recently put a show on sale for the O2 for May 2021, and it didn't have a plan B. But at the same time, we're about to put a handful of shows, in fact, on sale for September, October 2021, where the agent's already got a routing for 2022 should it have to move. So there are people at each end of the scale. Some people are optimistic and think we'll be back in May. Other people are so worried about the situation that before they've even announced a show for Q4 21, they've got their plans to move it to Q1 or Q2 2022.
Tim or Van, did you want to, Marie?
Yeah, Dana. I guess the biggest challenge in Australia is that we don't have a very large number of local artists that are capable of particularly putting together, for example, an arena run. And so, you know, relying on those sort of acts to sustain us, they won't sustain us for very long. You know, our country really relies on international touring, particularly from North America and from Europe. And the biggest issue that we face is that international travel is not allowed. International visitors aren't allowed. And initially they were talking about that potentially going into March 21, then it was July 21. The government's only on Thursday or Friday of last week started to talk about the fact that it might not be until the very end of 2021, which is not great news for us. There have been some discussions about some exemptions for some international visitors, where they can bring them in, have them quarantined, go into a 14-day isolation period, etc., and then work out a way to move them around the country in a biosecure bubble type scenario. So until that gets laid out and happens, international touring in our part of the world is pretty unlikely for the better part of 2021. Even though we do have a number of shows that have been moved from dates in 2020 into 21 that are in months in as early as April, May, and June. So it's a little hard to say. The other issue that we have is again, we have some state border closures. So even if a tour is mounted in this country right now today, it can't play in various states. It can't move around easily. That's probably likely to be alleviated by the end of the calendar year. But the international travel restrictions for us are the biggest issue.
Dana, from my perspective and from my location, I think that, you know, we do have local artists that can keep 2021 going. Not obviously nobody's going to get rich off of that, but you know, it'll keep the ball rolling. And certainly, I think that the big international acts that would come through, would probably lag a little bit anyway, just because there would be other markets that they would hit before touring South America. So yeah, you know, short of fast testing and a vaccine, 2021 is going to be, you know, taking, you know, putting one foot in front of the other as the scenario changes, and counting on local.
Thank you. I'm gonna direct this next question to Marie and Michael, for everyone else to chime in though. Has the federal or local government in your country provided any grants or relief for your venues or the live entertainment industry in general?
Yeah, I can start there. Yes, there has been a number of different support packages that has been presented by the government. The most important one is the furlough scheme that has given us the opportunity to furlough our staff, but that is only until December. And at this point, we don't know if that furlough scheme will be extended going into 2021, which is a major problem for the whole industry. Apart from that, there has been some grants, but it has been a problem because it has not covered the whole ecosystem. It's only been certain parts of the industry that have been able to apply for those grants. So yes, some parts have been good. The furlough program has been really important, but there's also a major discussion right now about the government's responsibility to keep the industry alive going into 2021. And everyone is really worried because after December we have no support at all at this point.
And in Germany, I must say we're quite happy with various programs the government issued. So this is all good, but at the end of the day, with zero business or close to zero business, whatever you do is hardly helps at all. I mean, we just can't continue, and we see how people start to move into different directions with their job careers. So I think it's all a matter of timing. You know, we see it in the travel, in the field of travel, airlines cutting down their fleets, airports cutting down their capacities. And, you know, regardless on the support we get, as I believe we will have to wait maybe another year until we come kind of back to something which supports our business, it's going to be very tough. And again, I'm very uncertain about the reaction of the audience, which may in all of these days learn different behaviors in what they want to do, how they want to spend their money, and how they want to go on with their free and spare time. So it's critical despite all the nice support by government.
And if I can jump in there, I think Michael raised a really good point about staffing and that sort of thing in our industry. In Australia, we have a similar system to the one that Marie just described. It's a program called JobKeeper, where we're paid an amount of money on behalf of all the employees that we keep on our books. And that's going to run till March 2021, and then after that, who knows? But one of the biggest concerns that we have is losing our good staff who, you know, are working reduced days now. Even working a 4-day week for some staff is the difference between their livelihood being viable and not viable. So when they get down to 3 days or just the JobKeeper 2.5 days or thereabouts per week, it's not enough to sustain them. And a lot of these people have transferable skills into other businesses. They don't have to work in the entertainment industry or live music industry or venue industry as a prerequisite, they can do other things. So people who can go and get a job in any other industry are doing that. We've lost a few good people already who have gone to businesses that A, can give them 5 days a week employment, and B, they're in an industry that's not impacted by COVID and is going along quite well and has no level of uncertainty like the one that we're in at the moment. So that's a real major issue, is a talent drain.
In the U.S., our industry has been largely left out of the blanket coverage as it relates to support and grants and subsidies. There's the Save the Stage movement out there right now to try to get a lot of our folks back to work. And probably everyone on this call and everyone watching the call probably knows multiple people that are unemployed, underemployed, furloughed, everything that everyone's already talked about. And there have been some select municipalities that have used some of their CARES Act funding to prop up some of the venues and programming. But largely in part, the U.S. has not earmarked money to sustain our industry as it is. Some of the Payroll Protection Act money, some of the various companies have been able to get their hands on to do it, but not in large. So our industry in the U.S. I'll use the word decimated, because I've got a ton of friends and colleagues that aren't working right now, which makes me sad, quite frankly.
Anyone else want to chime in? Ben?
Dana, I'll just say we don't have neither market a furlough authorized type program, but both markets, Argentina and Uruguay, stepped in and came up with a momentary package of unemployment insurance. It looks very similar to a furlough program, but we have, I'll share Tim's concerns. We have lost some good folks that we really did not want to lose. And I will just add that, this has added a level of complexity and maybe a challenge in terms of what the client expectation is and what, we think we need to do in terms of retaining talent. It takes a little bit of ability to spin those plates, at the same time.
Thank you so much. This next question, some of you have actually already answered, but I'm going to throw it over to just to start with Emma and Marie. During the downtime, while your venue has been closed, or your venues that you're overseeing, closed by the pandemic, have you continued to engage your fans through social media? I know some of you are doing streaming concerts, which I think are fabulous, but also within your community. How have you continued to engage with fans and your community during this downtime?
Yeah, we started quite immediately after the closing down, or I should say, in Sweden we haven't had a proper lockdown, which makes us a little bit different to the rest of the world. So everything is basically open in our society except the event industry. So we have the 50-person limit, but apart from that, everything is open, but with restrictions. So we decided to do things to stay relevant to our fans, but also to our partners, and especially our naming right partners for the stadiums and the arenas. So we did the live streaming concerts, and we did as I said in the beginning, the Terrific Tuesday, which was really famous speakers that did motivational speeches every Tuesday, that we actually had more than 10,000 that followed online every Tuesday, and that was presented by our partners. But we also have lots of sports in our venues. About half of the volume is actually sports. We have 6 anchor teams in football and soccer and ice hockey, and those games are played behind closed doors. So, and they are televised. So we get to have some kind of something for the fans and for our partners as we have events going on, even though they are without any people in the building.
I just to the O2, I mean, we've done a couple of different things. I mean, one of the things that we decided to do is just benefit from the fact that we didn't have any content in the arena, so we started to run backstage tours for fans. And we've looked at it before, but obviously the issue with trying to run a tour through the backstage area, you just can't do it while there's a show. Or if you do try and do it, you can't get the fans anywhere where they want to see. Like, you can't get them in any dressing rooms or to any of the fun stuff. So we've run a really successful series of backstage tours, which has run really well throughout the summer. And then another example of something that we did was on the night of the date of what was due to be the last night of the Queen and Adam Lambert residency, which was due to be 10 shows in June 2022. We worked with the band's management, and they really kindly curated 8 of the band's best performances, and we hosted a watch party through our site, through their YouTube platform, and it was really successful. We had I think it was over 130,000 people watch that, and it was great in terms of trying to engage with the fans who would have liked to have been at the show, but also trying to encourage people to hang on to their tickets and wait for the shows for the following year. So I think that was a good example of something that could work and keep us connected to the fans that would usually be in the venue.
Yeah, that behind the scenes initiatives is really cool. We've done that with the streaming shows at Movistar Arena in Buenos Aires, where we set up the tickets, and you could watch, you could have a behind the scenes tour of the arena, you could have a meet and greet with the artist, where the artist actually takes you through the backstage area of his venue. So he's showing his dressing room, he's showing his setup in terms of sound check and all that, and it gives that cool unaccessible content to the fans. I think that, one thing that I've asked the team to do is something very similar as to what I saw in the O2 video, where it says, you're working Venue Shield very well in terms of your readiness to receive the client, the fans. So, that's a message that I've told both venues, that look, get ready to make folks more than comfortable than coming in. It's more than the government telling them that it's okay that 30% goes to the venue. What I want to make sure that they transmit through whatever channel they can, whether it's social media, whether it's digital media, or even print media, is to say, or PR, is to say, look, there is a protocol that this amazing company called ASM Global has put together to make absolutely sure that you're going to be safe if you go to this event, and that should, whenever the floodgates open, give that additional level of confidence.
I think we all know how to really ensure that a visit at our venues will be all safe to visitors. I think we're all professionals, and we've dealt with various situations over the last 20 years, which were challenging, whether it was terrorism or other threats. But I think at this specific time, the biggest concern is that, and I think that's the same in many other countries, is that our industry and our business at the moment is seen as something you should just not do. It's not good to go to a concert. It's not good to see people in a mass setting. So we feel that the last 7 months was a huge political campaign to give everybody the impression to come to a show, it's not a good idea. And this is true certainly for the current situation to a certain extent. But if we keep, or if the society keeps on telling this for another 6 or 12 months, I think we will have people changing their mindset, and you know, it's just not going to come back as it used to be. It does something with people. You know, when we talk, I mean, we did shows where we had a capacity of 11,000 and only 5,000 people came, even though for the last 7 months they couldn't see the show. They don't come because nobody feels good about it, and they have alternative concepts on how they spend their time, where they spend their money, and you know, I think we have to fight this. I doubt that it's coming back to how it was. I think we should think on how do we reinvent our business. That at least is my observation currently in the market.
I agree, and I think when we put the Squeeze show on sale last week, I really didn't know which way it would go. Like, would it be that people were so nervous and didn't want to come out, we wouldn't sell the tickets? Or would it be the case that fans were they haven't seen a gig for so many months that they'd snap up the tickets? We really didn't know. So I think just with a nod to what Ven just said, it was really important that we put together a video showing fans who were buying a ticket at the point at which they were sat in front of their computer thinking, shall we go? Will it be safe? There was a video explaining everything from how the queuing will work, how the seating will work, how the tickets will be digital, how you will access the venue, the one-way systems, just everything, so that we made people who were thinking about buying a ticket feel like we were making the place as safe as we possibly could. So I do think there's the possibility that there's a perception that people shouldn't go out, but I do think that we still have the ability to have an impact on that. And like the messaging that we put to customers about the safety measures that are in place will hopefully make them feel secure enough to take a chance and buy a ticket and realize that they're coming to an environment that's as safe as it possibly can be.
I want to add to that, because I think it's extremely important. I think it's important for everybody to understand we have to educate. And when we educate, it's just what Emma said. When people start feeling more comfortable, it's going to happen, and it has to be the right artist to also set that tone. I think that there's certain artists, if someone's iffy about going or not going, if they do not feel it's safe, and if they do not feel it is right for them, they're not going to go, which is fine. But if you have a Harry Styles concert, those kids are going to come. Because when you look at certain environments that are out there today, and I can't speak to the US and Zane will chime in, colleges, they're still having their parties, they're still going out, they are not afraid. So I think it depends on the actual show and the artist. But I do believe if we just give it time, which we will, and nurture everything and educate the fan and educate everyone to the spaces that they're going to be going to, we will be back in business in full capacity. Because I know Zane is seeing it a lot in Florida, and we're seeing it in Texas, and we're seeing it in different states in the US, that the fan or the consumer, they want to be out there, and they don't think they're being reckless because they believe it's something else. But it is our jobs to make sure that whatever fan comes to whatever show, that they are safe, so then they'll want to come again. Zane, because we have to wrap this up. Believe it or not, you guys, it's been 15 minutes, and I think we were allowed 45. Zane, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I enjoyed going back to college with Rodney Dangerfield so I could feel that effect. But I think everyone's spot on about the customer journey. And Michael, I think you're the one that said what it's going to look like in the new norm. We're not only going to be marketing to buy the ticket, we're going to be marketing the customer journey as part of coming back and getting live entertainment back. And it's going to, in the US, it's obviously going to take our election to be done with. and the next president, whoever it's going to be, blue or red, going to be inaugurated for probably part of the steps to get through part of this campaign that Michael talked about, whether it's a real campaign or an implied campaign or just the media dogma that we are all festered with right now, to help us get our industry back. But yes, there is definitely a segment of population that's already over it, in the sense of they want to come back, and we've seen it in the events, but there's also a definite segment of the population, at least what we've seen down here in the Southeast, that will wait until a future time to be determined.
So we have to wrap it up, you guys. Is there any, Tim, Ben, Marie, anyone want to chime in for last remarks?
Dan, I just want to just touch on that those last points, which I thought were all excellent. Nemra, I did see the video that you guys put out, which was absolutely fantastic. I've got to say, I think it's very much a demographic. Different demographics are behaving differently. We're seeing it in refund rates. You know, for shows, and some shows have been postponed twice now. So by the time they actually perform, they'll be 18 to 24 months after people bought the tickets, which is a long time to hold a ticket when you could easily get the money back and say, you know what, we'll worry about whether we want to go later on, if that show and when that show ever happens. And yet so for family entertainment, for a show, for shows like Paw Patrol, which we have on sale in some of our venues, refund rates, 25 to 30% is not unusual. And then for mature age demographic concerts, it might be 15 to 20%. And you mentioned Harry Styles specifically, Dana. With our refund rate on Harry Styles is 1%. So clearly there's a lot of people who are going to hold those tickets and say, you know what, the money's a sunk cost. I spent it a long time ago. I really want to see Harry Styles. But if the fans saying, you know what, I could take this artist or leave that artist a little bit, they're the people who might decide to take the money and run as it is now. So I think, to me, the refund rates being, even on the family shows and mature age demographic shows, relatively low. I think that's a really encouraging sign that people do want to get out and about when they can. But yeah, there's an obligation on us to make them feel that it's a safe environment.
I think the problem is, though, is that, as you said, Tim, our refund rate at the O2 is really low. It's currently 7%, which is amazing. And it's the shows such as Queen and Adam Lambert's actually the show where we've had the least refund requests. And it's a big ticket show. I can't remember what the PL one is, but it's one of the higher ticket prices we have on sale. But my concern is that people are holding on to their tickets, but we're currently looking at our second wave of reschedules. And are they going to hold it for the third date? Like you say, there are some shows we're just about to announce, and it's going to be 2 years between the original date and the play out date. And are people going to give up? I mean, obviously, I hope not, but we're just going to have to see how the second wave of reschedules impacts the refund rate.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to end this because I even am finding it extremely interesting. But I wanted to thank you all for participating, and the conversation will continue. But I know that the overall message is that live events will come back. And when they do come back, we are all going to make sure they're safe.